Welcome to Adventures Beyond the Horizon. This is where we delve into the essence of overlanding, the art of navigating uncharted paths, and the stories forged on the roads less traveled.
I'm John, and joining me is Anthony. Together, we will explore the profound experiences of our journeys, the intricacies of vehicle modifications, and the challenges and triumphs of off-road adventures.
Each episode, we'll share insights of our recent trips, and as well as uncover the deeper connections and transformative moments found in the world of overlanding. Subscribe to stay with us on this journey.
Welcome back, adventurers. Today, we have another special guest. Say hello, Zane.
Hello.
We're going to be talking about adventure bikes and comparing them to the overland rigs. You have both, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say both. I've got a 2022 Yamaha Tenere 700, and I've taken that off-road a lot. I did that mostly in South Carolina and down in Arizona. And then I've also got a 2016 Jeep Renegade Trailhawk, and I have a love-hate relationship with that vehicle, but that's not what this episode's about.
Oh yeah, I'm here too, by the way.
Oh yeah, you're almost always here, so. Nah, we're just getting our special guest guy.
I know, it's fine. I just want to say it so I can acknowledge that I am actually here.
The fan favorite, whatever. Okay, sure, guy.
Well, thank you for joining us, Zane. Glad to have you.
Thanks for having me.
In your opinion, for just the cost of getting into it, would you start with your adventure bike, or continue along with more of getting a rig?
Well, I think it really depends on what you want to do. The cost of entry for an adventure bike is definitely significantly lower. I bought my bike for 11 grand, and I bought my car for 16 grand. I can tell you my bike is significantly more capable off-road than my car is. But it really depends on what you're doing, because taking like a full-on overland rig, that's the kind of thing you take on like these huge multi-day trips, where you go in like super long distances, like hundreds of miles every day. And then with the adventure bikes, it's more of at least what I've used it for is shorter trips, but more like backwoods stuff, like a lot more technical, difficult terrain. I also have a lot more fun on the bike than in the car. John, you have a motorcycle. It's just different.
Built different, if you will. Yeah, so the 16 grand is not including like everything extra that you had to put either onto your vehicle or got to put in the vehicle for like storage space.
Yeah, that doesn't include my roof rack, my rooftop tent, all that stuff.
All the equipment on the inside.
With the bike, all in all, I've probably done maybe $1,000 worth of modifications.
Most of that was in the exhaust, wasn't it?
Yeah, about half.
Yeah, that's where it mostly goes anyway. Like, I can't remember, but do you have any saddlebags or hard bags?
I have a set of soft panniers that I'll use when I go camping. There's two soft panniers, and then I have a top bag that I'll throw on there, and I have a tank bag as well. And that's usually enough to get everything that I need. So that's like a little bit of food, all my bedding, clothes, whatnot. When I do motorcycle camping, I generally do hammock camping, just because it's so much less stuff that you have to take with you. Granted, not the most comfortable, but it works.
Have you had to do any body modifications, such as like if there's fenders, you had to remove them to make it easier to get through stuff, or anything similar to that?
The only thing that I've done body-wise is... So it's I wouldn't say it's really body-wise, but the exhaust kit that I did, it changes the position of the muffler. Mm-hmm. So stock on my bike, it sits really low. So if you lay it down, it'll just bend the exhaust hanger, which is part of the subframe. So that's like, it's messed up.
Yeah.
So what I have, it's the Camel ADV exhaust. It sits up a lot higher, and that is by far my favorite thing that I've done to it.
So yeah, I guess that would help you with your mobility through the tight areas as well, especially if you got rocks all around you and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I've also got a set of bark busters. Those are like big metal hand guards that go in front of the handlebars, and those are nice for not breaking your fingers on trees.
Or even if you hit the ground too.
Yeah, it's also good for crash protection.
Nice.
Yeah, what about maintenance on them too? I take it it's going to be a lot cheaper for the bike.
Yeah. So maintenance. One thing, replacing the tires. I do that a lot more on my bike. So it has 12,000 miles on it. I'm on my third rear tire.
Oh.
But it's not bad. You can get a full new set of tires for $200.
Oh yeah, that's not bad. Where like, what, you're looking at tires a couple weeks ago, right, Anthony, for your truck?
Yeah, and just the tires by themselves. So 33-inch tall tires, they're going to cost me, now granted, this is for 5 of them, $1,500 just for the tires. And that's not including installation or the warranty or anything. But if you know how to do it, I mean, like with my work, I could have go through the wholesale supplier and probably get them for a little cheaper, but I'm a little bit lazy and just go through the conventional ways, which I think it'd just be like $100 cheaper if I went through wholesale. So
yeah,
but I mean, it's expensive because it's 5 tires instead of 2 skinny tires like you would get on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I will say the front tire wears a lot less than the rear tire, so I put on my third rear tire and my second front tire at the same time.
Why would the rear tire wear differently than the front?
Because it's your drive tire.
Yeah, so like when you're going, you know how like your car kind of like leans back and when you press on the gas?
Yeah.
It's more aggressive for motorcycles because there's only 2 wheels.
So that one is just taking on more stress than the other one.
Yep,
Gotcha.
front brakes, rear tire, because all your braking power are in the front. Or if you're engine braking too, which is another good aspect if you are either in a manual rig or in a motorcycle, you get the engine braking.
Mm-hmm. I think that mostly applies on road. It doesn't really, in my experience, doesn't really do a whole lot for me off road. It's
just there.
On adventure bikes, are the front and rear tires the same size?
No.
Okay.
Generally, the front is larger. So on my bike, on the Tenere, there's a 21-inch front tire and an 18-inch rear tire.
Okay. That's not bad.
And so for your rig, do you have different sizes of tires, or are they like all the same?
So they are all the same, but sometimes with the spare tire, some people have a smaller spare tire, and that's just to get you back to wherever you need to go. It's just a temporary tire. Now, I'm thinking the advantage of ours, like Overland rigs versus the bikes, is you can get bigger tires on an Overland rig than you would on adventure bikes. Am I correct? Like you can continuously increase the size of the tire rather than you can on the adventure bikes.
Yeah, like on bikes, you can put, I suppose you can put larger tires on there, but then it gets into you having to like modify the wheels, and it's not really designed for that. Like on a car, like you can just take the wheel off, and as long as it has the same bolt pattern, realistically, it's going to fit on there. But with the bike, there's a very specific geometry that it follows, and it has to have all the same like mounting points for the brakes and the sprocket in the back.
That's true. And I guess
Also, for the bikes aspect, you don't really need it for ground clearance because you're going to be pretty much hopping over stuff or going around it if necessary.
yeah, with rigs, you just kind of have to either try to go around it or you got to push straight through it because you don't really have another choice.
Yeah, there is something to be said about your wheelbase being 6 inches wide instead of 5 feet wide.
Yeah, yeah. But we do have. It is. Our Overland rigs are definitely more expensive for sure, especially if you get on to like if you got a mid-sized truck or if you got an SUV or if you got a full-sized or even a Super Duty. it can get way more expensive. So we're talking about a possibility of 100,000, maybe even more dollar difference between the adventure bikes and full on rigs.
Mm-hmm.
But and we also get a much wider aftermarket for our vehicles as well, I would imagine.
Actually, I don't.
I think as far as aftermarket stuff goes, there's with bikes. I think it's less. There are less specific, like bike specific parts that you're looking at.
That's true.
A lot of the, a lot of what you would be looking at is like suspension stuff, which is, it can be bike specific, but in general you can get a generic part and put that in. It realistically depends on the bike that you've got. Like my bike, there is a lot of aftermarket support for that. There are a bunch of companies that make stuff for it, but I think in general, yes, I would say that the full on Overland rigs will have more support and more specific things for them.
I think it's also just a matter of we have more parts that we can change out in general. Because
Well, yeah, you for Overland rigs, there are more parts that you will need to change out. Whereas an adventure bike, it's like it's already built from the factory to just go off road.
not even necessarily like that. I mean, it's a full car, so you have more parts in a car technically. So change out the bumpers, change out the wheels, front bumper. You can change it. You can put a roof rack on it. There's just so much more because it's a wider area that you can cover, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I can come up with.
So all in all, adventure bike a lot cheaper, but there's also a lot more skill involved with it.
Yes, and
there is the aspect of having to know how to ride a motorcycle, and it doesn't exactly translate like road riding to off-road riding. The way that you shift your weight is a lot different. The way that you steer is different to maintain grip. Whereas with a car, it's more like
You're not worrying about all of that. It's just you go.
yeah. Well, entry cost wise, I think the adventure bike wins this round.
Yeah, so on your adventure bike versus driving your Renegade, which one do you think you have better like off-roading capabilities with mobility and accessibility?
definitely 100% the bike. The Renegade does surprisingly well off-road for like the class of vehicle that it is, and I do like driving it off-road. But the bike, I have a higher clearance, I have a lot more mobility, I can get back in places where you can't with any car. And also it's just fun, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when you're driving, Anthony, when you're driving off the roads specifically, how is your mobility and accessibility?
Because I have a mid-sized rig, I can still fit into tighter areas that full-size rigs wouldn't be able to get into. But even then, if it's too tight, I do start to scrape the sides of my truck, and that's where the bike would definitely beat me over that. I do have something over the bikes, and that's I can carry heavier loads. I can store more supplies. I can also carry more people. On the bike, you only have saddlebags and one person, maybe two that you can carry.
No, definitely one. If you're doing off-roading, it's gonna. I feel like it's gonna be a lot more difficult riding the bike. Having another person on there is completely throws you off.
Yeah, unless you're riding like a well-established like gravel road, realistically having another person on the back isn't going to be possible. I think that is the biggest difference between like the whole Overland rig and adventure bikes is the amount of stuff that you can bring.
Yeah.
Like on my bike, I can fit like a small like little camp cooking set and like a lunchbox as a cooler, and that's like I can carry like maybe a day's worth of food if I throw a backpack on.
Yeah.
A few days. But with like in my car, I can bring like a folding table. I can bring an entire stove. I can bring pots and pans, all that stuff. A whole cooler.
Yeah, and even if with overland rigs, you have an entire tent on top of that, and too, and like a bin full of food and just more creature comfort items that you wouldn't be able to fit on a bike. So fair enough.
So all in all, again, I think the bike wins the mobility and accessibility aspect of you can go more places with the bike than you can on a whole rig.
But you can't carry as much as you would
Correct.
with a full-size rig, with the overland rig.
Yeah, and we were also sort of alluding to it already, but the comfort and convenience, you get a lot more comfort with a whole rig, or even just like a car in general, because you can put that rooftop tent, carry more, have all of the convenient items that you want.
And an
there's a
enclosed
great
cab,
term
too.
that... Say again?
I said, and an enclosed cab too.
Well, not everybody has an enclosed cab. Like, oh, okay, I see what you mean. I thought you meant like the truck bed. Disregard. Jeeps don't always have enclosed cabs, so
That's true. The one time we went camping,
Yeah,
and
but-
Joey had the doors off. He didn't have an enclosed cab.
Yeah, well, you think he's gonna leave the doors off and windows open whenever it's winter?
well, that's not always the case. You know, Jeeps we've already kind of covered. Like, the Jeeps are a whole nother thing.
But to answer your question, he would do that totally.
He would, yes.
Drive around in the winter with the doors off.
God.
And he
But that's
has,
neither here nor there.
he has before.
He has the capability of having them on. We'll just say
Yes.
that. It's a personal preference.
Yes.
All right, what were you saying before? Sorry.
Yeah, so all in all, big rigs, even smaller rigs, have that creature comfort over adventure bikes.
Yeah, I can tell you there have been days out in South Carolina of like riding through the mud all day, and I'm like an hour away from home, and I'm like, do I really want to camp tonight, or do I want to go home and shower? And I've gone home and showered because I'm gross.
Well, even with that, I mean, you have with a full size rig, you have AC, you have heating, you have heated seats, cooling seats, even sometimes massaging seats. Just because you also have that enclosed cab, as I was saying earlier.
Before we move off of seats that give you a massage, I'm pretty sure that the whole bike is giving you a massage. Ish.
Is it a good massage or is it a bad massage? That's my question.
Depends on the bike.
And the person, they may enjoy it a little too much.
Oh. Ooh. Pause.
Oh, come on, that was a good joke.
Yeah, you're out there cranking your hog, and then it's just,
He's out here, you know, fiddling with some sticks.
oh yeah.
Well, I saw a video the
Pulling
other
that
day. And,
throttle.
it was somebody just riding in the woods, and he hit a stick or something. It's like, oh, that didn't look good. And he looks down and it's through his foot.
Yes, I've seen that. That's rough.
Yeah, so
Yeah, Overland rigs, you have an armor cage.
It's a lot harder to impale your foot on a stick in an overland rig.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and there goes my foot. Foot was gone.
Yeah, that is another thing to be said about like four-wheeled vehicles versus a motorcycle.
You're a little more protected.
A little.
Don't need a helmet, don't need pads.
Let's go ahead and start talking about the range. Anthony, how long can you go out without refilling?
It honestly depends on the terrain. So if it's like super rocky, then I have to use more gas to get over certain terrain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it's like a flat dirt road, or if it's like slightly sandy road, I can get maybe 10, maybe 12 miles per gallon out of my truck. On average, I've been averaging probably about 8 miles per gallon on all the off-road trails. But I also have a 19-gallon gas tank as well.
Mm-hmm.
So on a full tank of gas, from the range reading, it reads like 340 miles or something like that.
Okay, nice. Before we delve further into it, let's just compare the adventure bike real quick.
So,
Size of the tank. And...
on my bike, I have a I think it's 4.2 gallon tank. And on the highway, I'll normally get about 50, 60 miles per gallon. And
Holy
then
crap.
off-road, 30 to 40.
Jesus. Wow. Jeez.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I wish I could get to that.
also remember, I think you beat him out in the range because he only has what you said, a 4.2, so 30 times 4, yeah, about 120-ish miles.
Like, yeah, really hard
Yeah.
off-road. Generally, I'll bring a fuel bottle, like a 2-liter fuel bottle.
Yeah.
Strap it to the side.
Yeah, even with us, like, yeah, like your fuel bottle, we have the Rotopack gas tanks that we can put on the side of our trucks, which will extend it even further. Like, I think the biggest gas tank they have is 4 gallons or something like that, and you can have multiple of them stacked. But it also depends on the type of car or vehicle you have too, because the bigger the car, I mean, the bigger the engines, you're going to be using more fuel.
Yep.
Even if you have like a hybrid vehicle too, you can get even further.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that as well.
Yeah, so he definitely beats you out on the fuel efficiency, but for range, definitely the Overland rig, because you can also just, in general, carry more gas.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to carry more gas on the bike.
Yep, indeed. I think they do make Rotopack mounts for motorcycles.
They do, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've seen those on the road. I'm like, oh, one of our shipmates, if you will, he has one, Arnett.
Oh.
Yeah, he had a whole rig, and he just always had it packed.
Neat.
I think that's what he's doing now. Like, he got out and just started going.
That's cool.
Bad part about that is it also takes up your storage space as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing.
Generally, I'll strap the fuel bottles to like my crash bars up in the front, not where I normally put my stuff at.
That's
Keep
fair.
it separate.
Let's hope there's no fire and stuff if you do crash.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Otherwise, you're going.
Oh yeah, speaking of crashing, I think you were telling me about X, the Overland edition thing on Amazon Prime, right? That was you?
What?
The Expedition.
Oh, the X Overland.
Yeah,
the,
X Overland.
Yeah.
So I saw that
Yeah.
on his adventure bike. His bags would come off if like they got hit by a rock or a tree, so that way he wouldn't fall over. Does your saddlebags do anything like that?
Like if they like hit you on the side.
Yeah, like on the saddlebag, it comes right off, so that way you don't steer right into it. Like his saddlebag just hit the rock.
Is that a feature or is that an accident though?
I'm pretty sure that is a feature on some. I was talking to the instructor for my BRC. He has that, or he doesn't have those ones, but he was talking about thinking about getting them, because that is another aspect. You can't hold as much stuff in them because they have a weight limit compared to the other ones that are like hard mounted in.
Mm-hmm. So
I feel like that would be. I don't know how good that would be. Like if you hit like a bump or something like that and it falls off and you don't realize it until you're like 3 miles away. I feel like that would be an issue. You know?
Yeah. So, but for that one is you go to your camp spot, take them off, and then you can go back out and do the rest of the ride. That's the good aspect of it. But you do have to be more mindful of, hey, did I lose them already?
So in general,
Yeah.
like panniers like that, it's not that difficult to take them on and off. So even if they're like hard mounted, there's like a frame that you like bolt to the bike, and then there's some sort of mounting system for the panniers. It sounds like that's what was special about those, is the mounting system. Mm-hmm. The ones that I have, they don't. There's not a frame. They just like it's like a saddle. Yeah, saddlebag. It's like a saddle sits over the back of the bike, and then it just straps on. And then they have like compression straps, so I can
Pause. Strap-ons.
Oh my God.
And there are compression straps, so I can tighten down whatever I have in there. And usually I can get it pretty like close to the body of the bike. I haven't had issues with that like running into stuff. On my old bike, and I did have big, hard aluminum panniers, I did definitely have to be more mindful about trees and stuff.
Pause. Big and hard trees. What?
Oh,
Big, hard, throbbing trees.
Wood-on-wood action.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think range-wise, the big rigs win.
Big rig wing.
Big rig wing.
Big wigs wang.
Big wang.
The big wigs wing. With the wings.
Range, big rigs. Fuel efficiency, the bikes. By far.
Yeah. If you care about gas prices, cost me.
Well, they also have, like, what, 4 less cylinders than I have, too?
Some of them.
That is true. I only have 2. But they're good.
I have
They're
6.
2 good ones.
Yep. They are very good at pounding.
What you know about pounding cylinders?
You know a lot about pounding cylinders, man. He broke 2, count it, 2 graduated cylinders. All right, moving on. Terrain capabilities. In your overlanding rig, Anthony, what kind of terrain are you able to go in?
I mean, I can go in everything. I can go in sand, mud, rock, fields of grass, fields of snow. I can go through anything. I haven't really found anything that I can't go through. I mean, the only limiting factor is your clearance and your tires. That's always been the limiting factor of any car. Or if you don't have enough horsepower to go over a certain obstacle, but I haven't really had an issue with that yet. So as long as you have those three things, you're fine.
What about your traction? I know you have some added weight.
Well, that's where the tires come in. If you have the right tires, traction isn't really an issue. If you air down your tires, you'll have more traction, even if you have a bunch of weight on them. So airing down your tires give you more surface area. Sorry.
What about you, Zane?
I think the terrain capabilities is another place where the difference between four-wheeled vehicles and motorcycles really shows itself. With a motorcycle, it is the limiting factor is the rider's skill. Like every single time, the limiting factor is going to be your skill. Realistically, you can probably get a bike through anything that you wanted to, but you can't compensate for that just by getting like better equipment or anything. It comes to a point where you just have to be good.
So you'd say there's a skill gap?
Yeah. I think there's when it comes to like navigating difficult terrain, there's a lot more like just raw skill involved with doing it with a motorcycle rather than on a truck.
I think it's also the same thing with overland vehicles too, because if you don't know how to get through a certain obstacle or terrain, just like that, like having the skill to do it, then yeah, you're not going to get through it without damaging something. So in a way, it is about the skill for us too, but I think it is also more about the skill for y'all.
Yeah, they definitely need the skill. You guys can, or us, we can definitely, slide by lack on the skill and put more trust in the technology that we have available to us.
Yeah, and the structure and the reinforcement of your car too, because if you don't have the skill, you can just beat on it and get through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, so also, just a quick aspect, just a quick little thing. What are the likelihoods of you being stuck in your overlanding rig?
Because I have more weight, you can get stuck very easily, especially if you're in mud, and depending on the kind of mud, you can get stuck very easily. And snow. It really all comes down to the weight and traction. But yeah, it's very likely you'll get stuck in certain areas and certain terrain.
Now, with being stuck, how long do you think it would take you to get out?
Depends on the gear you have. So if you have a winch, you can get out pretty quickly, as long as you have something to attach the winch to. If you don't have a winch, you can have traction boards. Probably be messing with that a little longer, depending on what you're trying to get out of. I've gotten stuck in snow, mud. Traction boards have gotten me out with the snow. Mud, it'll get you out of two, but if you're bottomed out, definitely won't do anything. But yeah, if you know what you're doing, you have the equipment, you can get out fairly quickly.
All right, now you, Zane. About you, what are the chances of you getting stuck on your adventure bike?
Well, I can say that in all of my time of riding that bike, I've gotten stuck exactly one time. That was in 2 feet of water.
Jeez.
But I will say recovery is a lot easier on a bike. I pulled myself out with a ratchet strap from Home Depot that cost me $12.
Yeah, that was where I was going to lead. Like, oh yeah, how long would it take you to get out? How did you get stuck? Now I'm curious. I wasn't expecting any times to get stuck.
All right, so there's this where is it? It's in Francis Marion National Park in South Carolina. Little Hellhole Road.
That's a great place.
It's super muddy and it's a 6.5 mile road, and about 1.5 miles in, it basically just turns into a creek. Yeah, it's about.
I've been there.
Yeah, you know exactly what it's like. It's like 2 feet.
I went there when it was raining too.
Yeah, it's like anywhere from 2 to 3 feet of water. And you're just like wading through it on the bike.
Yeah.
So how did you get stuck? Did you just get stuck in the mud, or?
Yeah, there was just a section of mud that was more muddier than the rest.
Your bike was just upright, or was it? Did you lay it
No,
down?
I was stuck upright. The bike wasn't like on its side or anything, like submerged.
I mean, you also have to think South Carolina mud is like clay. It's very sticky
it's
and it'll
super
suck
clay.
you in.
Thick.
It is thick. Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely get that. And in that area, I've seen like Jeeps with huge tires like drive through the swampy parts of it, and it's freaking crazy. And they have, those tires will put huge ruts in the road. And I went through a section in Francis Marion where I could not get past it because the ruts were so big. I would have bottomed out.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a crazy ride.
Yeah.
The next day I was cleaning my bike and I found a crawdad under my license plate.
Sounds about right, being next to the coast.
Yeah. But to talk about the actual capabilities of getting stuck, I will say there is something to be said about having 4-wheel drive versus 1-wheel drive. I think it's easier to navigate obstacles on the bike for sure, but if there's like an unavoidable mud patch, you'd be better off in a 4-wheel drive vehicle for sure.
Yeah, because you can have half your car in the mud and half the car out, and half the car that's out has the traction.
Yeah, and unless you're rocking like a crazy Christini setup with 2-wheel drive on your bike, you're probably gonna get stuck.
Yeah.
So no real clear winner, but it seems like it is, leaning in the adventure bike.
Yeah. Sure.
All right, we've kind of alluded to this next one quite a bit. Packing and gear. Obviously, we can have more gear in the overlanding rig than we can in the adventure bike. But when you go out for adventure bikes, like you've been saying, you only go out for a day, maybe 2 days. Then you said about a week if you really tried and packed enough food. How long can you go out there, Anthony?
I mean, depending on how much you pack, you can go out for weeks at a time, especially if you have a bigger vehicle, like if you have a truck, like a Super Duty truck that has like a 8-foot bed, you can store a bunch of food, a bunch of water, creature comforts. You even have the space inside the cab too, which you can store stuff. So because you have so much more space and storage, you can go out for longer and pack more supplies.
Yeah, maybe not just in the bed, but also in, what's the term? I just had it. Your adventure rig, the camper, like the one that are built for off-roading. You can have a lot more in that.
And you can pull like a camper or like a trailer rig behind you as well.
Now, with your setup right now for your adventure bike, Zane, can you pull anything with it? I know some motorcycles you can set up a trailer, but not necessarily a overland trailer, I suppose.
Yeah, trailers aren't something that you see on adventure bikes. It doesn't really work,
Yeah.
You can probably pull a very small one, but something that you can sleep in, no, I wouldn't imagine.
No, yeah. And it changes the handling so much. It's just not worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Like it's
I mean, if you're going out for a certain amount of time, a long period of time, you might not have a choice but to bring something where you can store more stuff in, like the trailer.
Yeah. So it's a big up check for adventure rigs right there. Well, that goes along with
Overland rigs.
Overland.
What I
rigs.
say?
You said adventure rigs.
Adventure overland rigs there, but I would have said adventure bike if I was referring to the bike. Adventure rig, I would consider still an overland rig because you are still going on an adventure, are you not?
Beyond the horizon, some would
Okay,
say.
but you can also go on an overland journey with a adventure bike.
Yeah.
Overlanding beyond the horizon.
Oh yeah, I guess that works.
Same.
I didn't know if you did that on purpose or by
No,
accident.
he did it on purpose. He said adventure beyond the horizon, some would say.
Oh,
Before. And then he said overland beyond the horizon.
beyond the horizon.
So yeah, big up check for overlanding rigs. Specifically the car type, because you guys want to be, meh about it this time around. Yeah, so that also goes along with the self-sufficiency and duration. You can definitely be out there longer.
It's sour spray, don't worry.
I was so confused. I thought you just sprayed a highlighter into your mouth.
I ain't that fucked up, John. Come on.
That's what it looked like.
Catch me squirting the highlighter juice. It's like good.
It's the good shit.
All right. So yeah, that also just kind of goes along with the self-sufficiency and duration. Obviously, if you can pack more and pack more gear and more gas, you can be out there longer. You can also be more self-sufficient with a lot more creature comforts. But that being said, on the adventure bike, you can also be self-sufficient if you bring your own hunting gear and your fishing gear. Just pretty much pack no food and just all that and your tent. You could probably be out there for a while as well.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. So, if you do go out for, say, a weekend, Zane, how would you pack your water and your food? Would you have a 2-liter of water and just a pocket of food, or how would you do that?
So what I'll normally do is I will take a lunchbox, set that up like a cooler, fill it with some ice packs, and anything that needs to stay frozen or cold, I'll put it in there. And then anything else, I'll just kind of put it where I can stick it. As far as water goes, I'll usually take a Camelback and fill it up as full as I can, and then take a couple of plastic water bottles and throw them in.
That's fair.
You can put it anywhere you can stick it.
Oh my god.
I'm going to keister the water bottles.
I wasn't going to say anything else after that.
Also, just make sure you're well hydrated before you go is another big thing.
Yeah. That is very big.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to, adventure, spirit, and freedom. For you, Zane, do you feel like in your rig versus your adventure bike, which one do you have more freedom?
I think it really depends. In my bike, I can go more places, but so with the car versus the bike, it really depends on what I want to do. So with the car, it's more about the destination. It's I'm going somewhere to do a thing. It's a few months ago, I went to Olympic National Park in my car to go see the park, explore around, go fishing, the Hoh Rainforest, all that stuff. With the bike, it's more about the journey than where we're actually going. It's I want to go out and ride this cool trail, that kind of stuff.
So, if you were to go with a group of people and they brought basically everything to share that you would need, you would take your bike, vice taking your rig?
Probably. Depends on how long the drive is, but yeah.
Then for you, Anthony, do you have like a sense of the adventure spirit when you're out there?
I always do. I mean, I can do the same thing with my truck. I mean, if I want to explore a certain area, I can do that perfectly fine in my truck, and I can be more comfortable doing it. So, like, if I want to go explore this trail I actually found not too long ago, I explored it here in the summer, and it was just like a loop around. I went to the top of this mountain. I camped on the top of this mountain, and then went down and explored the area a little more. But I can also go out and do that again in the winter, and it'll be a little different. So because of the different times I can do it, I mean, it's just like exploring something else again, but it's also new. I mean, and it's a little safer to do it in. I mean, you don't have to worry about the cold. You don't have to worry about the heat. You already have everything. If you like, this comes down to like being prepared and packing and having that storage space. Like, if an emergency happens, you already have all the stuff to do it to handle that with. And even with Overland rigs, it's also about the not just the destination, but the adventure getting there. Like, say a tire blows out, you still have to manage that. Or if like you meet somebody, or if something happens, say like a landslide happens. I mean, anything can happen, whether it's on an adventure bike or if you're in an overlanding rig. It's just the amount of comfort, I guess you could say. And then you can also jam to your adventure tunes too to make it more epic.
I agree. I also want to roll it back. We've mentioned the cold a couple of different times. Have you, Zane, gone out in the colder weather on your bike?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a matter of wearing more clothes.
Yeah. And then I know some bikes have heated grips. Does yours?
It doesn't, but it's something that I intend to add. When I lived in South Carolina, it was basically a non-issue because it's the coldest it ever gets is like 55 degrees, and just put warmer gloves on. But here in Washington, it gets pretty dang cold. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then going now, taking a couple paces forward, you were saying you could jam out to your music and your adventure rig. We have helmets that also have not necessarily earbuds, but have like just ear pads, I suppose. They're kind of
They're
where
called
you're...
speakers, John.
That's the word I'm looking for. They have speakers in your helmets.
Headphones.
They don't go in your ear. They stay in the helmet. And they're...
You know, these are called headphones too, and they don't go in your ear either.
Yeah, but they're speakers. They're not. It's not quite headphones because they're in the physical helmet. That's what I'm trying to say. You put it into the helmet. They don't always come with it.
Yeah.
Helmet phones,
I get what you're saying.
if you will.
Helmet phones. That should be a product name.
I bet it is somewhere.
I'm sure somebody's making helmet phones.
And
Helmet phones, if you exist, sponsorship.
question mark.
So I think all in all, I think you can still have an adventure spirit and freedom in both rigs.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like there is no winning here. It's something that you're going out and looking for, not like, hey, this one has everything I'm looking for, versus I have no idea where I was going with that.
Yeah. Well, I think they're two different platforms that have very different use cases. Some are better for some things, some are better for other things. Like if I'm just like going out camping on a weekend, realistically, I'm probably just going to take the car because it's easier. But if I want to like go out and rip some trails, I'm going to take the bike every time. It really depends.
Yeah. Now we've also talked about this one previously. I know there's a theme here. We kind of just like, as we're talking, somehow get onto the topic. But maintenance and repair, we've talked about it as it's cheaper maintenance for the bike because the tires are cheaper. There's less oil. The gas, you're buying less gas. The parts are just as easy to come by for the bikes. But when you're actually out there you don't have all of the equipment that you need to do the on-the-site repair.
I think it depends on how bad the damage is. Like when I go out, I carry a spare tube and a tire patch kit, so I can, like, if I get as long as it's not super bad, if I get a hole in my tire, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
And yeah, anything more than that realistically is going to be, I'm not going to be able to fix it. But there is less stuff to break. Like I'm not going to be out there and I don't know, I'm not going to snap a sway bar or anything.
Might get
and lose my steering.
You might get a.
I might snap a collarbone, but
Yeah.
I think 9 times out of 10 I'm going to be the first thing to break.
Well, for me, this just comes down to this amount of storage you have, like, because you can bring full spare parts with you. If you need a new alternator or something like that, you can bring a spare alternator. Some people bring spare like axles and different things like that.
Well, if you're bringing a spare alternator, I don't know if you were already prepared for that or not. Might as well just have a new alternator leaving. So maybe not a spare alternator, but I get your point.
I mean, it depends on the trip. If you're going through an extreme environment, you're not going to put a brand new alternator on and then it breaks in the middle of the trail and you're like, oh crap, I don't have another one, you know? It's happened.
My point being, the alternator wouldn't be my first thought. I understand it happens, but alternator wouldn't be my first thought. I would be like...
I mean, okay. We'll move on from the alternator. But either way, it's just a matter of you can bring spare parts with you if you need to.
Yeah.
Generally, yes, it is more expensive to repair an overland rig rather than your bike. Just because, like you said, there's more parts to it. They're more complex. They're just a bigger machine, and the parts are going to be probably way more expensive because of that. And even sometimes cars, especially, I guess, more luxurious cars, but if you're going like the Land Rover route, they might have some specialized tool you have to get to repair some stuff, and that's whenever it gets a little bad. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd still choose an overland rig.
Yeah. There's no very clear winner in this case. Cheaper, but if you break, you're stuck out there until something happens, versus, yes, it's more expensive, but I can bring those parts and fix it myself if necessary.
Yeah. And also, if you're the one who breaks, then it's easier to get back in a car than it is on a bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's just go ahead and talk about best use cases for adventure bikes versus your overland adventure rig.
So with overland rigs, I mean, they're perfect for families, groups of friends. If you're going on long distance adventures, you can, like I said, you can pack more, be more prepared. And it's also for people who just want to camp in comfort. So essentially car camping, you're glamping. And like I said earlier, you can carry more supplies and get into or stay in areas that you wouldn't be able to stay to as long in with an adventure bike because you have more supplies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with adventure bikes, I think the big thing that opens up for me is like single track trails that you cannot get on in a truck or a car or anything. Like there's a lot of single track trail out there, and it can take you to some really beautiful places that you can't get in a car. But in general, yes, still keep it to those shorter trips. Probably closer to civilization, just because you can't carry a whole lot of gas, can't carry a whole lot of food, that kind of thing.
Yeah, just pretty much going out there by yourself, looking for the variety of terrains, like you were saying, and you can quickly do it. Super high adrenaline travel more is what it seems like you're going after.
It's definitely more exciting for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all in all, if you want comfort, you go with the overland rigs. If you want more of the adrenaline rush and the ability to get to places that most people wouldn't be able to get to, then that's where you would go with the bikes.
All right, well, are you ready to wrap it up?
Let's do it.
All right, well, I think that's all we had today, guys. I want to go ahead and thank you for joining us on this episode of Adventures Beyond the Horizon. We hope you enjoyed the journey as much as we did. Today, we kind of did a comparing of adventure bikes versus overland rigs. We hope you found our stories as inspiring as we did.
We'd love to hear about your own overlanding stories, and if you have any topics you would like us to cover in future episodes, please let us know. Contact us at our social media on our Instagram, or drop us an email at our email.
Until next time, keep exploring and pushing beyond the horizon. Safe travels and happy adventuring.
Peace.
Out.